There was a patient once and I overheard the doctor saying something to that patient. And in my mind, it didn't make sense to what I knew about this patient. So when the doctor was gone and I had to look after this particular patient, I asked, "Is this what the doctor said?" And the patient said, "Yes, this is what the doctor said." I said, "Does that make sense to you?" And the patient said, "No, not really. Writing things down makes it more real. It kind of starts creating order in the chaos. You can refer back to things you've written down. It's easier to formulate questions if you are better informed." Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Quality of Life Quest. My name is Anneke. Today's topic, a patient diary. So what is a patient diary and why would you use one? It's not something that's been done as a thing in hospital. It's just one of the things that I've noticed is missing in most cases. I don't think I've ever seen anyone use it. We use it with my mum, who's not in a hospital, she's in a care home. And we've got a diary there and it really works for us. So maybe it could work for you. I have suggested it to some of the patients and some of the family members of patients, and they thought it was a good idea. So let's delve into this. Hospital can be a very confusing place. Of course, my experience with the patient diary is with my mom, who's not really a patient. It's just that she's confused and can't remember things very well and has difficulty expressing herself at this moment in time. However, I work in hospital. I work in AMU, and when people come to our ward, they've been through the mill. Everyone comes in through A&E. There can be long waiting times in A&E. People have gone to various places to have imaging done, or whatever they do. I have yet to work in A&E, so I don't really know what they do in A&E, but they are moved along in certain steps. I do know that, and it confuses people. It confuses the patients and it also confuses the people who are with them, whether they are friends or family. If you think you'll be all right, I only do daytime, so I start at 7:30. The people who come in early in the morning, they quite often have waited in A&E through the night. Family members have been sitting next to them on a chair through the night. Try staying awake, sitting uncomfortably in a chair, being moved from pillar to post with all the best of intentions, and then keeping track of stuff. It is almost impossible. The patients are confused and the family members are quite often confused as well. They're at the end of their tethers. They just want to go home and have a good night's sleep. So where does this patient diary come in? As I said, it's not only confusing, a hospital is not only a confusing place, it's also being moved along, and it's easy to lose track of where you are and what's going on. You won't start out with a diary. You will just start out with pen and paper, or sometimes people have got those modern gadgets they write on, which is more difficult because if you haven't got your charger with you, you might end up out of juice. Anyway, it's a way to keep track of where you are, what's been done, what the plans are for the future. Even if the future is an hour away, it's still the future. People find it really difficult to do things if there is uncertainty. Writing things down makes it more real. It kind of starts creating order in the chaos. You can refer back to things you've written down. It's easier to formulate questions if you are better informed. And one of the ways to be better informed is to write things down, because with all the best of intentions, when healthcare providers talk to you, you get the information. There you are. That's it. They don't keep on returning to you to reiterate what they've just said. They say what they've got to say, and then they move on to the next patient. And there's plenty of them. There's plenty of patients. If you ask politely what's just been done and what's happening and what's going on, they will try to do their best to reiterate what they've mentioned before, but it can be difficult for them to keep track of everyone. If I speak from personal experience, if I've got a message to convey, I convey the message and then erase it from my brain, because my brain needs more space for new messages to come in to be relayed. I don't know. You might be excellent of keeping track of messages. I'm not. So as soon as you arrive in hospital or find yourself in a difficult situation, start making notes. If you're the patient and you can make notes for yourself, absolutely amazing. If you are there as a family member or as a friend, please start making notes on behalf of the patient. And then keep those notes with the patient. So if it's a diary, it's kind of easy because it's a book. If you start out with pieces of paper, please get some sort of booklet or diary as soon as possible. So the idea is that this paperwork stays with the patient, and it's a private thing. It's got nothing to do with the hospital paperwork. It's a private thing, so that the patient knows what's going on, and the family and friends can come in and read that diary, so they know what's been happening, and they can ask questions and have conversations with the patient about their healthcare trajectory and what's going on. So how would you continue to use that? When you're visiting, make notes. Have a quick look in the diary. Who else has been here? What have they talked about? What seem to be the major concerns of this particular friend or family member? And then during your visit, write down the key points of conversations you've had. Maybe the doctor came to visit whilst you were there. Note down some of the key points of that as well. It's so often that a doctor visits a patient, and then, if there's no one there, there's no one there. But if you then later ask, the doctor's just been here, everything okay, or what's going to happen? They find it very difficult to summarize what the doctor has said. So even for people who are fully aware, fully oriented, who could ask questions, a doctor's visit is so quick. It happens at a moment in time the patient is not prepared for. The visit is initiated by the doctor. It's not that the patients sit in a waiting room and are waiting to be let in to see a doctor. No, they are in a bed, and the doctor comes around when the doctor has time to come around. Even though people know it's coming, it's always a bit of a surprise. They were doing something else and, oh, there's the doctor. And for some reason, it seems to make it difficult for people to ask the questions they want to ask, to remember what the doctor has said. If you, as a patient, can write down the keynotes, that's already a huge step. The doctors on our ward are absolutely lovely to talk to, and if you've got questions, they're willing to explain to you what's going on or to explain the background of whatever it is you want to know. But the question needs to be there, and if you are surprised by what's going on and surprised by the visit and have no clue, then those conversations are not happening. The doctors can only do so much. So if you're a patient, make notes yourself. If you're family or friends of a patient who can't really do that for him or herself, make the notes for them. For family members who want to be there when the doctor comes around, again, same. Make sure that you read up the notes that are in the diary. Make sure you've got your questions ready. Make sure that you actually ask the questions that you want to ask, with, of course, permission of the patient, because you can't just barge in. It has to be all done with permission of the patient. So that's how you use it. Start making notes as soon as you arrive, because you will be going from pillar to post and back again, and you will be moved through a system that's set in place and doesn't necessarily have any meaning to you, but it are several stages within A&E you move through in order to be helped to the best of their ability. Write it down, make notes as soon as possible, put it in a diary so that you can keep track of what's going on. Write down the key points. Make sure that if you're the patient and you are aware and oriented and all the rest of it, that you read up your own notes, create your own questions. Make sure you ask those questions, write down the response, make sure that you understand the response. Just because you've asked it once and you've got an answer once doesn't mean that you understand the answer or that the answer makes sense in your head. There was a patient once, and I overheard the doctor saying something to that patient. And in my mind, it didn't make sense to what I knew about this patient. So when the doctor was gone and I had to look after this particular patient, I asked, "Is this what the doctor said?" And the patient said, "Yes, this is what the doctor said." I said, "Does that make sense to you?" Just because it doesn't make sense to me doesn't mean that the patient is, is equally unclear about things. And the patient said, "No, not really." And it was something about something wrong in the patient's head, and it being somewhere in the rest of the body or the other way around. And neither the patient nor I could make the connection between those two things. How could it be connected? And I said to this patient, "Why didn't you ask for further explanation?" And the patient said, "Well, the doctor was gone and I didn't really get to terms with my own questions. I couldn't formulate the next question, the follow-up question. It hadn't quite sunk in." So when I saw the doctor later, I asked, "Could you please explain to me this connection?" And the doctor explained, and I said, "Actually, that does make sense. Now you explain it like this, it does make sense. Is it okay if I tell the patient?" Because the patient was also unsure about it, and that was all fine. So we both had a good laugh about it. But it was one of those moments that the doctor explained something, and even though it was all correct and all fine, it didn't necessarily make sense. It needed an extra layer of explanation to make sense. And the better prepared you are with your questions and with the information you've gathered so far, the quicker new information can sink into your brain, and you can make new questions, follow-up questions, to really make you understand what's going on. And it is your body, if you're the patient, or if you're advocating for a family or a friend, it's very important to that other patient you're advocating for, that everyone understands what's going on, and to write it down, to make it as simple as possible. And if something doesn't make sense, please ask. The consequences of not understanding or not knowing what's going on can be even more confusing. If you start taking notes, the next steps might be more clear. And it's possible to chase up certain aspects. I was told by this doctor that this was going to happen, yet now there's another doctor and he or she tells me that that's going to happen. Is this in sequence? Is this happening together, at the same time? What's going on? It's important to keep track of that. The more you know, the more relaxed you are, the easier it is to heal. If you're stressed out, it's difficult to heal whatever is going on with you. Also, when it comes to visits from family and friends, it's nice if you can read up about what's been talked about. Does the patient have major concerns that they're worried about, and their mind needs to be set at ease? Anything, really. Anything that makes the patient's stay more comfortable. There are patients who worry about their home situation, or they've got a pet. What's happening to my pet? Is my pet okay? Is my pet okay? Who's looking after? And they're very valid questions. And sometimes people can get into a loop with that. And unless the question has been answered by someone who's in the know, according to the patient, and been answered maybe several times in a row, the question won't stop. It will stay there. So for people to be able to read up on that and to be reassuring towards the patient could be absolutely amazing. Or you could put in a warning, please do not talk about, because this upsets the patient. Various examples over the past time, the past whatever 2 years almost, that I've worked in a hospital, where you should not talk about a certain topic because it triggers something within the patient and they're off. So that's important too, what to talk about, what not to talk about. If it is in a setting where it's residential care, for example, you can add things to this diary of things that are about to happen in the future. So whether that's birthdays or other significant dates, or appointments for the hairdresser, or an outing that they've organized. Everything can be put in there, and then when you go to visit, you can kind of go through the diary for the future and see what's going to happen, and you can talk about it with the person who's there, to generate interest in the upcoming events, so they can enjoy it already before the event starts. So those are two different ways you can use it. You can use it in an acute setting where you don't really know what's going to happen, and please keep track of the steps that you've gone through so far and the kind of future steps that need to be made in order to get to a certain outcome. You can write down who said what. That's fine. It makes it easier to refer back to, and that everyone who's visiting can actually read those notes. In a residential setting, you would use the diary in a slightly different way, as in you still record who's been when, what's been talked about, but you also write down all the things that are going to happen in the future, so you can refer to that as you have the visit and people can look forward to that. So what if you don't put pen to paper and actually write things down? It is so easy to get lost in the system. You yourself get lost. I mean, the system knows you're there, hopefully. They keep track of you. And you will get so tired from the questions of, so what's your name, your full name, your date of birth, first line of your address. You have to answer that question so many times. Like, what? You people still don't know. But it's, that it is what it is. So for yourself, it is so easy to get lost in the system. And you may think, oh, it's going to last only, we're done in an hour. We'll be in and out. How often we meet people in the early morning, and even the people who are not ill, the ones who are there with the patient, they are completely frazzled. They've got no idea what's up or down, let alone what happened yesterday and what's going to happen today. They're no idea. Sleep deprivation is a thing. And the more you write down, at least you've got a track record. So if you don't do this, it's really easy to forget things. It's harder uh, to relate to the doctors what's going on. It's harder to keep track of what has happened and what's going to happen. What if you do keep a journal or a diary, whatever you're going to call it? Everyone's on the same page. Everyone who matters to this particular patient is informed because it's there. It might help the patient to feel more secure, more settled, bit more in control of what's going to happen. And the whole experience hopefully becomes a little bit less stressful for both the patient and the family and the close friends. So it's a very simple tool. It's a really, really simple tool, but it can have a big impact. It can turn a very chaotic situation into something that's a little bit more manageable and helping everyone to feel a bit more at ease. So next time you or your loved ones are in hospital, consider giving it a try and report back. I'm very curious how many people are going to take this up and put this into action, because believe me, it's a great, great tool and it can be a great help. Thank you for listening. May the road rise up to meet you. Until next time, bye.